Did it scare you? I hope so. That's right, it's that spooky time of the year, and here at Demystifying Design, we're redesigning the website for a local haunted house called Netherworld. Now, Netherworld is actually one of the world's best haunted houses. It's built by production-grade makeup artists and animatronics engineers that build these really enveloping worlds that you walk through and just experience as part of the scene. It's really cool, and their website doesn't really convey that sort of immersion, and I want to fix that. Now, of course, not every website needs to be explicitly clear about what they do, and there's definitely some value in having like a kitschy, fun website that kind of gets people to let down their guard and open their wallets. So we're going to preserve a little bit of that kind of fun side of the site, but I definitely want to kind of see what we can do to build a really immersive, beautiful 2023 haunted house website. Here we've got the style guide that I just pulled from the UI over here, and as you can see, I've got like 8 different spooky fonts that I'm toying with here. I'm not 100% sure which one I'm going to go with yet, and I'm kind of going to make a decision on the fly once I get a chance to see it in context. Let's just get in there and see what we come up with. Starting out here, of course, we're going to use a dark theme because we're building a spooky haunted house site. And we're going to use that lovely red to dark red gradient on the logo because it gives it kind of a blood look, which I think is very appropriate for a site like this. And whenever the primary value proposition of your site is highly visual, and something like a haunted house is very visual, you might be tempted to use a carousel, and I always urge people when they're doing this kind of design to consider a video instead. And here we're using a cool little haunted house video I got from a royalty-free video site to kind of help the user feel a little more immersed as if they're walking through the home in real time. I spent about an hour here refactoring my font choice because I felt like I connected a little bit too much with the logo and was a little hard to read. Now, readability, of course, isn't my primary concern when I'm building a spooky haunted house website, but your font is probably one of those design decisions that's really worth worrying about. So we go through here and we eventually come up with a more legible font that actually fits the site thematically a little bit better as well. Spending quite a bit of time on this homepage hero here, and many of you are probably thinking, okay dude, let's move on to the next part of the design here. But I want to stress that you really should spend your design time where it's going to be the most useful. And for something like a haunted house where the goal is to get people to click that buy tickets button, this homepage hero is kind of their first impression usually of the brand. So that is where you have the most opportunity to build some emotional leverage with the person viewing the site. So you really want to spend a disproportionate amount of time on the homepage hero of a marketing site usually, or of course the hero on a landing page versus other pages and other sections on the homepage. One of the main usability problems of the existing site is that they were trying to get social proof by showing various logos of places in which they were featured as a haunted house. Now that's a great tactic, but if you don't mute the colors of those brand logos, it really leads to a disjointed visual hierarchy and confuses the brand of the page you're looking at. So here we're getting the same value, but muting the colors so that we can kind of dip into the best of both worlds here. So the goal of almost any website's homepage is to kind of get the user hooked emotionally into browsing further into the site. Why would they continue to, invest their effort and attention in something unless you can convince them to do so? So we're starting with that, but then what do we put in the other sections? Clearly we're going to need some sort of availability block. We'll need to explain what the haunted houses are, but ultimately what we're trying to do is answer customer pre-sale questions in a visual way. Things like, what houses are available there? Things like, can I trust this venue? Is it actually safe? We kind of go through each of those ranked by their perceived priority to the customer and kind of just answer them, which increases the chances that they click that big call to action button. Now, of course, if you want to save some time, you can always just do a text FAQ like I'm doing here. However, I promise you, this is much less effective than just answering those questions visually throughout the site. And finally, although the separators between each container here is quite clean, it does look very boring. It's a little too informational for a thematic site like this. So we're going to go through and add some flair. Most notably, we're going to add flair with the purpose of making those separators look less simple. We're going to try and fade each section into the other with like some little blood spatters and other fog effects so that it looks like you're kind of scrolling down one big section. It's alive! I really feel like this is exactly the kind of thing I was going for here. It's just so much more immersive, right? We can showcase what you're really getting into when you hit the landing page immediately, as opposed to having to dig through various pages of galleries to kind of get some really captivating imagery. So here we're still doing all the important stuff. We're explaining the value proposition, very clear call to action. We've got some social proof here. We're clearly explaining where you're supposed to find value on the website and the experience of going to the haunted house. Showcasing a little bit of scarcity to get people to click that call to action, and then answering some usually pre-sales questions that are important to people. So that's it. Let me know what you think. I'm terrified. I need to take a break. I'll see you in the next one.